was the driving force in your career? What made you believe that I can play this game for 20 years? Because there were moments in your career when, there were huge gaps between the number of matches you were playing each year. Sometimes you were hardly playing. There were years when you would kind of maybe play 14 matches in the entire year. So what would be the kind of driving force? What would sort of, was it records? Was it the runs you scored? Was it beating the best in the world? What was your driving force?
Fast bowler.
पूछा runs पूछा रे
She's bowling the death overs, huh? From 45 to 50.
ठीक है यहाँ पे भी तू कर ले no, anyway, definitely a lot of things are there. It's not about only runs or wickets. And first of all, as an athlete, you cannot plan that you're going to play 20 years. It's not possible to plan. You just go season wise, you go series wise, you go year wise, but you cannot plan 20 years you're going to play. But for me, I always enjoy represent country. When I saw that tricolor is flying in front of the jersey, name is India is written down. When you are singing national anthem in the middle of the ground, and those are the moments for me. I always live with that. I dream with that. Yes, definitely performance is required. Definitely there was a lot of things happened that in a year we played one series also. It was difficult to motivate. You get frustrated. But at the same time, one thing is always awake me is, okay, don't worry. If you want to be number one, or you want to be not individual number one team, you have to work hard. You have to do something extra for the team. And that is how I motivate. And motivation can be so different way. Every individual have different way of motivation. For me, is always I motivate in this, like, okay, I'm unhappy, I'm frustrated, but again I start visualizing, okay, tomorrow, next day, 1 year, after 1 year I'm going to wear India t-shirt and going to bowl first over. So plan for that. Don't give up. So that is how I work. That is the things help me, and I'm continue doing that way in my career. And again, 20 years I never thought I'm going to play 20 years. I thought maybe maximum 5 to 6 years I'm going to play, because it's not possible. But one thing we understand, both of us understand very early stage, that if you want to continue, if you want to deliver more, definitely we have to work hard in our training process. And that's I think because of that, I still agree with me. Because of that, we're able to extend our career, because both of us very serious about our training. I don't think so हम दोनों ने कभी training miss किया है. And probably we skip some other thing, but hardly training miss किया होगा, because हम लोग इंग्लैंड भी गए थे, वहां पे भी हम लोग कहीं पब्लिक जिम ढूंढ के जाके वहां पे भी जिम करके आए. So what I'm saying is, understood that things, that it's not about only skills, it's not about other stuff, it's all about your process, your training process, your eating habit, and all those things. But for playing for India is the biggest motivation factor for me. That is a beauty. Uska substitute kuch bhi nahi ho sakta in my life.
Indeed, when I still look at Mithali bat and I see her technique, it's still so perfect, yeah. So it's clearly comes down to the kind of training that you guys did in the early years. But Mithali, what worked for you? What was your driving force? Because it always seemed like you had a certain goal in mind whenever you were playing, whether it was a start of a single innings or even perhaps over your entire career. It just looked like you knew what you wanted.
When you start, the first goal is to play for India. For any beginner, you ask any young kid, they would say like, India khel. That is your first goal. So when you make it to the Indian team, your next goal is to like har match khelna, playing 11 mein rehna. You want to be the one of the core members in the team. But when you start performing, then you want to be consistent. You want to be the player that your team is dependent on, and who has faith that you'll finish the game and come. So for a period of time, it was more of my own individual goals, that I wanted to perform for the team. I want to win matches for the team. What happens was, I realized to promote the sport, individual brilliance to some extent is works, but more than that, it requires a team to do well. So then what happens is, when you see young children coming up, when their parents come up and say, like, when I look at you, I want my daughter to play for India. So what happens, your own individual goals or your own dream is not limited to your own limited to you per se. Then it becomes a larger picture where a lot many people are looking at you, you sort of drawing inspiration, or looking at you as an example. Then what I felt was, probably this is a time to build a team where, just not my own individual brilliance, but there are many other players who can form together to create a say a path where, the entire team, the entire sport is known. And that is something has happened in my part of the journey, where I realized that it is just not, say, Jhulan's 5 wicket haul or her record or my records, because yes, that has got us names, but what about the sport? The sport still needs that pump, it needs that impetus, and that could happen only when we start to do well in bigger events where a lot of people are watching. And I realized that World Cups are those platforms, because when the Indian team goes to the World Cup, all of us now, we are backing the men's, because it's a huge platform. World Cup is a World Cup. So winning a World Cup was one of my biggest goal, because I know that, when once you start winning bigger events, then there are a lot of people who are following that event will start following the national side. And now with the matches televised, it is equally important to put up the best standard of the sport, and the people backing the national side. So after a certain part of my journey, my goal was not limited to me. Mithali ko 100 मारना है, Mithali ko जिताना. No, it was like, it was a bigger picture where you have to empower your girls, that they can take forward what probably we have tried to build, because we cannot play forever. At some point, we have to hand over the baton to the future generation, and I would want to leave it at a point where, it is strong enough that, the current generation take it forward. And I'm very happy at a point where I retired, because the team is really doing well. So absolutely no complaints there.
And the both of you all have done what every cricketer or every sports person tries to do: leave their sport in a better place than it was when they began. You have both managed to take Indian cricket to a higher place where it's doing better, is challenging for World Cups, and that's more than what anyone can ask for. Thank you so much for joining us for the HT Leadership Summit. See you again soon.